Tomorrow, the Giants will be back in action tomorrow, as well as they're taking on is it the Anaheim Angels or still the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim? I can never keep up with them.
I don't know, and I don't care.
Wow. That got personal.
They're the Angels.
Right. I guess they're
Wash is coming into town. I can't wait to see Wash. Their manager, Ron Washington, he's the best.
Yeah, off of a closed-door meeting yesterday.
Really?
According to sources. Yeah, I think Willard was telling me yesterday that they had a meeting either without Wash and then with Wash, but things getting tense down there in Los Angeles. And it is the Los Angeles Angels, no longer of Anaheim, even though they are in Anaheim. Just one of those, I don't know, kind of a knockoff brand to me. I mentioned Gene Mock before as the all-time winningest manager who doesn't have a World Series ring. And I remember as a kid growing up, they were a team that just seemed to always be close but could never quite get it done. Gene Mock with 1,902 wins in the regular year. No World Series. Buck Showalter is second. Bob Melvin, 1,551 wins. Third all-time among ringless managers.
Well, that's going to change this year. He's going to get a ring.
This year,
The Angels that worked, they won 8-3. They beat the D-backs last night, 8-3.
All right. Nice little bounce back for the Angels.
I always found that team meetings had a little jolt for about a day or so, and that was that. I think a managerial meeting has a little more jolt to it. Like, team meetings are stupid because someone comes in and they're like, Dibs, you suck. And then you're like, you suck.
You're talking about like players only meetings.
Yeah, players only. It's just like guys will get up and speak, and then you'll listen to him speak, and half the team's going, what is he talking about?
You guys need to play better.
Yeah. Well, your ERA is a 7, bro. Like, and you're getting up here and like you're out till 3 a.m. last night and you're telling me what to do. Like, that's how those things go. You don't really say it out loud, but you're thinking it.
Right.
And then you get done and then you break off into your little factions and you're like, could you believe what Dibley said? Like, and then, so those don't work for me. Unless it's somebody that never speaks, never says a word, and he gets up in front of the team, he's like, ah, and you're like, whoa. But so if a manager comes in and the manager has respect to the team and the manager has resume, then those work. Like, whoa,
yeah.
He's pissed. It's like, you know, when the teacher yells at you, your dad yells at you, whatever, like you're like, whoa, he's mad. But if you keep doing them, they lose. You got to do like 1 or 2 a year.
We were doing the thing last week. Willard was talking about having a party and how his parents, you know, he thought he got away with it, and his mom comes home and opens the oven. There's an empty 12er in the oven that one of his buddies had stashed in there, and because Mark had cleaned the entire house, and it was spick and span. And Denard span. And he thought he was going to get away with it. And he was ready to just like waltz through the rest of his life knowing that he had gotten away with it. And his mom opened the oven and there was an empty 12er. And Mark Grandy actually came up with the expression that is so true. It's not that I'm mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, that hurts.
That's the one that hurts. So
Risky Business, remember? Wasn't it with the crystal ball on the mantle? It had a crack in it?
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise just running a brothel out of his house?
It's a great callback there. I don't think that these guys have even heard of that movie.
You guys haven't seen Risky Business?
I doubt it.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
Check it out. It'll play. It'll play.
I think it holds up.
1985.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Oh,
might have been earlier than that, right?
Yeah, I think it was 84, 85.
Right in there.
One of Tommy's first movies.
Did Bob
1983.
83, yeah.
Like I said, 83.
Did Bob Melvin have a little shake-up meeting last week? Because it seemed like after he had that, it wasn't a tantrum, but Bob Melvin in the post-game, he was mad at the way they were playing, and it seems like from then on, they've really started to button things up down there at 3rd and King.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, getting back to the point where there's a presence there with the manager.
Yeah.
That, you know, and there's always been a presence with the manager on the corner of 3rd and King. Whether it's Dusty Baker, whether it was Felipe Alou, whether it was obviously Bruce Bochy. Gabe's presence was a little different. So I will tread lightly there, but now you have another and you look at the last team standing in baseball last year, like Snitker and Torey Lovello, and it's just the old school kind of. I know Buck got fired, but I'm a big Buck Showalter guy. I think he should be managing somewhere. He has so much to offer to any organization. And how are the Mets doing without Buck? How are Dusty Baker? God, I almost left out Dusty Baker. Like, I left out Kobe earlier too. Like I'm not.
And
thinking,
Bruce last year.
Yes. So and Bruce Bochy. Yeah. So like I don't know. There's just a shift back to having guys like structure, guys like leadership, guys like whether they'll tell you or not, they like that presence. They like that, like, the manager, like, we better play hard for this guy or else, there's accountability.
Yeah, and you need that accountability. And right now the Giants seem like even though they're just a game below 500, it feels like they're starting to play the kind of baseball that is expected of them from Bob Melvin. Helps that Brett Wisely's coming up and he's hitting the ball. But defensively, it looks like they've started to sharpen things up. Maybe that part of that is as simple as getting Patrick Bailey back behind the dish. And Chapman's been playing damn near Gold Glove level third base for the majority of the year. So those little things, I think, go a long way toward kind of helping that clubhouse vibe, don't they?
Well, I mean, you got to catch the ball at the highest level. That should be a given. Like, routine plays at the highest level should be a given, but in years past it hasn't been. So it's nice to see. Like, I'm watching Matt Chapman on a daily basis. Like, what a luxury and privilege that is. I didn't know he was that. Everybody said he was better than Arenado and this guy and that and Machado, and I was like, come on, you're just A's fans. What are you talking about? Seriously? And not watch this guy, even though he threw one away yesterday. Still, if you're gonna take chances and you're not afraid to take chances defensively, you think you can make every play, and you have to think like that. So the one he threw away the other day on the bare hand, okay, so what?
And did he throw it away, or is that? I mean, that's got to at least partly be on Wilmer Flores for not being able to come off the base and help the third baseman out a little bit.
Maybe. I don't know. It was a changeup. When you barehand a ball, sometimes you don't get a grip on it. But I love good defense, man. What gets me going in baseball is smart, aggressive base running and good defense. If I have those two things, I feel like a team can win a lot of games with those two things. You got to pitch it.
Yeah.
But pitching, obviously. That defense, great defense, aggressive base running, intelligent base running, and good pitching, you can win a lot of games.
And does this team have the makings to be good on all those fronts? And I know pitching-wise, the starting rotation is hopefully going to get healthier. Mark and I were talking yesterday about how they probably have 8 starters if everybody's healthy and right, but it feels like right now you've got just 3 starters, and I don't know how much you can really put stock in Blake Snell getting healthy and staying healthy, and Robbie Ray coming off of Tommy John, and Alex Cobb with the setback, and it feels like another setback after that, and Keaton Wynn and Tristan Beck being unproven. Do you have a lot of faith, or where does your faith lie with this starting rotation?
I mean, those are a lot of ifs.
Many ifs.
But if all those things, if that rotation, I don't know, if they're healthy, they're going to win. I'm pretty adamant about this. If they're healthy, they're going to win. And I know you could say that for any team. And, that's Captain Obvious, FP. You're such a great analyst. But it's true because there's a lot of track record there. And if you're talking about running the bases, I mean, minus Wilmer, like, this is probably the best base running team they've had in a long time. And Wilmer's not a bad base runner. He's just not fast. Patrick Bailey is a good base runner. He's not fast. But if you want to go around the horn, Tyro's a great base runner. He's just got to steal first right now. He's swinging it too much. Brett Wisely's a good base runner. Chapman's probably their best base runner. Matt Chapman can run the bases. He's fast. He's intelligent. He takes chances when you're supposed to. Ramos can run the bases. Matos could run the bases, but he ain't here no more. Yaz is a good base runner, and they're just better all. It's a better all around baseball team in a down year for the National League. So that's why I'm holding on to hope. It's not like, they're just buried right now. There's 4 teams over 500 in the National League. And this is anybody's ball game. Who makes the right moves, who stays healthy, who plays the best brand of baseball for the last 2 months.
A completely down year in the National League. I was telling Mark that I thought that 85 wins would be enough to get the third wild card, maybe even 84. I don't think that you're going to need to do much more than that.
Maybe 81.
Right. Mark and I were having that talk yesterday about whether or not you would even need to be a winning team with a winning record to get that third wild card.
What's the 81 though? Like, if you win your last 10 games and get to 81 and you're 81 and 81 and you get to the playoffs, that's a good 81. If you lose your last 10 games and you get to 81 and you're in the playoffs, that's not a good 81. I always just think it's whoever's playing great baseball in September, especially the last 14 games.
Yeah, Arizona last year is a good example. A team that came in and they were playing well and they went on a run in October and they made it all the way to the World Series and then ran up against Bruce Bochy and the Texas Rangers, but nobody saw Arizona as a World Series team last year.
I was around a lot of teams that clinched the division earlier back east, and they would play in neutral for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the season. Like, we'll give Dibs the day off here. We'll give Grandy the day off here. These games don't matter. We already poured champagne on our heads because we clinched a division. And then all of a sudden you get the 4 days off between the end of the season and your first series, and now you just got to step on the gas out of nowhere. Where the teams that are stepping on the gas for 2 weeks and they don't play in neutral and they're playing grindy games to get in the playoffs, then the playoffs are just another game once you get there. But it's the Dodgers that win 100 and whatever games, and then, we'll give you a rest, we'll give you a rest, we'll give you a rest, and it's time to go, let's go. You can't, that's not how baseball works.
Yeah.
Football's different. You get that bye week at the end of the year and everybody
Rest
heals
the body,
up.
yeah.
Ooh, that's big. Baseball, no. You want to keep going. Baseball's an everyday sport. It's about routine. It's about momentum. It's about rhythm. And if you take that routine and rhythm away because you clinch mid-September or you clinch September 18th and there's still, 14, 15 games left in the season, you can lose it, man. So I don't care how the Giants get in. I just hope they're playing great baseball at the end of the year.
That's another reason why I don't love the wild card format, because if you are one of the top 2 seeds in the National League, you're almost punished by the fact that you don't get to play. And, you get that bye, you get a chance to rest and set your rotation. I get all that, but like you're saying, if you clinch a week before the end of the year, that's a week where you're not really going full bore, and then you get 3 or 4 days off, and then now you got to ramp up against a team that probably had to work to get the wild card, and then they had to get through a wild card series of best of 3 in order to even get a crack at you. And so you might have had a week or 2 off, and this team comes in red hot, and it kind of takes some of the advantage away that you should have being one of the best teams in your league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen it. I've seen it play out a number of times. So yeah. Here's the thing, Dibs, and I've said this to you, and I've said this to Mark and Goo when I was in here last week. Baseball's not a sport where you try to win every night. You just try to play the game the right way. You try to play a good, solid brand of baseball every night. And you look up after 9 innings and you got more runs than the other team. Or you look up after the month of June and you've won 5 more games than you've lost because you're playing the game the right way on a consistent basis. So it's not like you're in the clubhouse going, come on, guys, we need to win tonight. It's just keep playing baseball the right way. Respect the game, play it hard every night, play it the right way, move runners, pick runners up, throw strikes, catch the baseball in defense, run the bases aggressively and intelligently, and do that on a consistent basis, and you'll win way more games than you lose. So it just sounds counterintuitive, like we're not trying to win. You're not trying to win.
Well, you can't go 162-0.
No, you got to go 1-0. But how do we go 1-0 that day? It's about the process. It's about everybody showing up and bust their ass for 2.5 hours, expecting to win, but not trying to win. And how do you win? Is just playing a good brand, solid brand of baseball. Make all the routine plays. Do all the little things offensively. The game's getting back to the stolen base and executing offensively, getting the leadoff double to third every single time, picking up the runner from third less than 2 outs more times than you don't, making every single play. Did I say that? I probably said that 4 times.
Yeah.
And then that's the most important. And then you got a catcher in Patrick Bailey that knows how to call a game, and he can throw. So, just keep doing what they're doing right now. That's easy to say on a microphone in a studio, but I don't think it's that hard to do if everybody buys in. Because where that gets fractured, Dibs, is, well, if I get my numbers, I get paid. And if I hit this, I get the contract. And I have a contract, and I have to live up to it. And I signed this huge deal and got a sweet car in the player's lot, but I got to live up to it. So then you start to get all these little cracks in that. And that's where the manager comes in, to keep everybody buying in, to keep everybody on the same page. They're like, look, if we win, everything takes care of itself. And you don't have to show me that we signed you because we know you can play. We signed you because you have 2 Cy Youngs. We signed you because we know you can do this. You don't have to show us. Just go out and play. Just go play. Just go play. It's going to take care of itself. It always has, right? So don't worry about it. You're pressing. Don't press.
Yeah, it's hard.
You got $42 million in the bank. We signed you for 3 years.
Exactly. And that's Jorge Soler. That's who you're
Blake
referring
Snell,
to.
You got 2 Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
Just do your thing, dude.
Well, he
Don't
can't stay healthy, so I don't even think he's doing too much. I think the lack of spring training is what's hurting him. And
Probably.
his body is not right. He didn't come in the appropriate shape and flexibility. And so he's had an adductor muscle twice now. And you see it happen and you go, oh, God, that's a player who doesn't look like he is properly fit and properly trained to go out there and do what he's supposed to be able to do.
What's the abductor muscle? Is that the one when you get out the legs and you spread them out on the machine and then you do them in and then out?
Yeah, it's the adductor. There's
Which
the
one?
abductor
Yeah,
and the
which one's that?
adductor. This is the
never do that.
adductor. And when you saw him throw the pitch and he immediately grabbed near his
Johnson?
Yeah, sure. Shout out Randy in the big unit, Livermore High School.
How do you think you got that nickname?
Probably because that fastball.
Ain't because he's 7'1".
Wasn't because the mullet, huh?
I don't know.
You never played with him, did you?
I played against him.
You faced him?
Yeah, a lot.
That couldn't have been comfortable.
He's scary.
Super scary.
And the stuff was scary, too.
Well, and he probably...
Don't look him in the eyes, boys. You'll turn to stone.
It probably feels like when he releases the ball, he's about a foot away from you. With that long release at 6'10".
That's 100.
Right.
And he was fake tough. He's a nice guy. But he's I'm Randy, I'm mean. Every time I pitch, I'm super mean. Come on, dude. No,
fake tough?
Yeah.
You got to know him a little bit?
No. I just, word
in the street.
A small frat.
Yeah.
It's a small frat.
Circle.
Small frat.
I know what you're saying.
He's
about,
good, though, man. Maybe the toughest guy I ever faced.
Because you're a lefty, right?
I was switch hitter.
Okay.
So I hit right-handed against him.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. Anyways. I forget where we were going with that.
We were talking about the Giants playing the right way. And I look at the metrics, and this is not everything, but I see that they are 6th in the league in most errors committed. They're dead last in stolen bases, and they're 24th in ERA. So all the things you're saying they need to do, are we now starting to see a trend where they're starting to play the correct way, or is this team just not fundamentally that good in too many areas?
Well, I think a lot of the errors have been sent back to AAA, if you want to go that route.
The errors, yeah. What was that, 7 for Luciano?
And Casey was making some too. I don't think they're built to steal bases, and I don't think that's part of the organizational philosophy. I think they tried to steal bases early. They didn't steal bases early, and I think the stolen base thing was kind of like, well, if we're going to do it, we better make it, which makes sense, right? You don't want to give up outs.
Yep.
And if you don't have a Ricky Henderson in your lineup, which they don't, you got to pick your spots, and you got to make it. I think Farhan and Bob are okay if you steal, but you better make it, kind of a thing. Like, this isn't one where we can be 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. We got to be 9 out of 10 if we're going to do this. So I get that. I get that completely.
Yeah, they're 22 out of 32, which is not very good. Among, all teams in baseball, they've stolen the fewest amount of bases, and I'm just looking at the wins above replacement by position, and I look at shortstop, and their shortstop productivity has been among the worst in baseball. They're only ahead of 6 teams, and the teams they're ahead of are mostly the bottom feeders in baseball. So is shortstop an area that we should really focus on as far as maybe an improvement at the deadline, or
maybe
do they look in-house? Is it Brett Wisely now? Does he get the crack?
It is right now. That's his job. He's an everyday guy. He's hitting 300, making all the plays. What more do you want? And he could steal a base too. But I think if you're thinking like deep into October, maybe a Bo Bichette or a Francisco Lindor, based on what they cost and how much you want to spend for them prospect-wise at the trade deadline.
Yeah, that would be exciting to get an infusion of talent in the way of Bo Bichette or anybody at shortstop. I'd like to see him come up with Pete Alonso, but I don't know if he has a position on this team because it seems like that spot's pretty well taken care of.
Well, you could put Lamont out in the outfield. It's a pretty good outfielder. You could put Lamont Wade in right field and figure out how that whole thing shakes down, but he's going to play for sure, Lamont Wade. So I don't know. I'm not talking about scenarios that might happen in July, but I'm excited with what Brett Wisely did. I liked Brett Wisely last year. I was like the only guy that was fired up about him. It's maybe because he reminded me of myself a little bit, but he didn't get it done last year. But how can you get it done when you're up and down and playing half a game and playing once a week, and then you're back in Sacramento, and then he would swing like he hasn't played in a week, which is hard to do. Now,
right.
Like, there's so many little things going on. If you look closely to this baseball, look closely. Like, don't just look at numbers. Look closely at what you're seeing. Guys are playing. Guys aren't getting pinch hit for. Guys are playing hard. Yeah, has there been some guys underperforming? Yes. That need to step it up? Absolutely. But there's little signs of improvement that I think over a 6-month, 162-game schedule are going to pan out, and I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, and Dave Fleming this morning on the Morning Roast kind of echoes what you're saying about Brett Wisely and being the everyday shortstop.
He's got an argument to be made right now while they're scuffling at shortstop to just play there every day. He's making the simple plays. Casey Schmidt did not do that. I mean, as much as we love Casey, some of the simple plays didn't get made when he was out there at shortstop. And Wisely's making the routine plays. I'm impressed because I was kind of like you. I mean, it just wasn't a great first impression last year. It wasn't. And he made a swing change. So maybe there's another lesson. I'm giving lessons out this morning, and mostly I'm just talking to myself.
Swing change. Pat Burrell, am I right?
No, it was Damon Miner in AAA.
in AAA.
The AAA hitting coach stood him straight up. He's got his legs underneath him. He was more spread out last year. And if you watch his bat, he looks a lot like Corbin Carroll. His stance is mimicking Corbin Carroll. I don't know if that was intentional or not. But when you look at Brett Wisely, you think of the center fielder from the Diamondbacks, Brett Wisely's having a better year than Corbin Carroll right now.
Coming off the Rookie of the Year season for Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, what's Carroll hitting? He's in the low 200s.
Yeah, I saw him about 215 last week.
Nobody can figure it out.
It's just one of those things. It's baseball, right? 1 minute you're seeing the ball as big as a watermelon. The next, it's like a pea going up there, and you have no confidence, and you start to press like you were saying before. And it's a weird sport because it's almost the harder you try, the worse you're going to be. It reminds me of golf in that way.
It is, and there's expectations too. All of a sudden, you're Rookie of the Year, and I got to live up to that. And the other teams are paying attention to you, and now you're the focus of every scouting report, not just a mention at the end of the meeting. Things change.
Yeah, things change. And so pitchers are starting to really drill down on you through video, and you're starting to come up with a game plan against a guy. And I think we saw that with Luis Matos a little bit after he had that monster week. And, all of a sudden on the opposing scouting report, his name rises toward the top, and they realize, ooh, this guy's got holes. Let's start to exploit that.
And then there's old guys with gray hair sitting behind home plate that are taking notes, that have been around the game for years. And then there's a bunch of video guys that are breaking down tape. So let me just say this, like, hitting right now is harder than ever. Like, guys are inventing pitches. Like, it used to be like fastball, slider, change. Was he got a two-seamer or got a four-seamer? No, he just got a four-seamer, slider, and a change. Does he have a cutter? Well, no. And then the next guy would be like cutter, curveball, change. And then what is this guy coming out of the bullpen? Oh, he's got fastball, slider. Now guys have 6 pitches. Not only do they have 6 pitches, they're throwing 112 miles an hour with their fastball. And then they're not even using their fastball. They're using their off-speed first, and you look at the percentages on Fangraphs, and they're throwing their sliders 52% of the time, and they're throwing their 100-mile-an-hour fastball 38% of the time, meaning everybody can hit a jet if they know it's coming. I've had pitchers tell me my best pitch is a crappy fastball with 2 strikes right down the middle because nobody's looking for it. Like, I can just get away with a crappy fastball and an 0-2 count, right? And for a called third strike, because the data says that so-and-so throws their slider 82% of the time in a 1-2 count.
Yeah.
So you have all that at your disposal, where that's good, but sometimes it can lock your brain up and you're overthinking. So it's harder than ever to hit, man. So when we're sitting here going like, Soler, you suck, and this guy, you suck. Like, yeah, there's 27 pitches a guy has, and you don't know what's coming.
Right.
In the old days, Dibs, 2-0 was a fastball, 3-1 was a fastball, 1-0 was a fastball, usually 0-0 was a fastball. We knew it was coming. We still couldn't hit it, but most of the good guys could. Now, it's strike counts and ball counts. It's like, what can you throw for a strike in this 1-0 count? What can you throw for a strike in this 3-1 count? It's not a fastball anymore. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't. So these guys got so much information, which is good. Then they got so much on their brain when they're hitting, which is bad. And they got pitchers with ungodly stuff, and not just 2 or 3 pitches, but 5 or 6 pitches. So good luck.
And those pitches are all now, between 95 and 98, whereas it used to just be a small handful of guys who could even touch 95 when you played and when you and I both were kids, and there wasn't even really a radar gun. Guys who threw hard like Nolan Ryan, he wasn't throwing 100. He's probably throwing 95, 96.
Ooh, I don't know. Nolan Ryan in his New York Met days and his early Angel days was clocked at 104.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, and I wonder what that would be now with...
It's 110.
Exactly.
With a triangulation of the StatCast era, yes.
No doubt. FP's in for Mark Willard.